Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. And if I could, on indulgence, I would just like to take a minute, since this is the last general business debate for Senator Siewert. So I just really wanted to say thank you for your work and your support over the time that we've worked together. As a new senator and a member of the Community Affairs Committee, and in the pre-COVID world, I used to joke that I spent more time with Senator Askew than I did my own family. But of course, you were always there as well. And we also had a couple of WA trips together where we were the only two physically holding up the fort. Now, whilst there's been more issues we've disagreed on than agreed on, and we'll get to those soon, you've always conducted yourself professionally, demonstrated a tireless work ethic, and is someone who I believe is innately decent. Now, for some of us on the opposite side of organisations such as the Unemployed Workers Union, whom I know you've tried to explain them to me but still eludes me, you were always supportive when the political discourse went far beyond being anywhere near appropriate behaviour. You never made politics personal. You supported everyone on the Community Affairs Committee and always understood that there were family circumstances afoot. And quite often they were discussed over a wine in an airport lounge in between hearing venues. So I, for one, will miss your contribution to this place and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
But as you know from our time on our community affairs inquiries into raising the New Start rate, the Centrelink compliance program and cashless debit card, there are actually very few times we were on the same side of the issue. And I guess here we are again. So we may as well finish where we started. The Morrison government has, throughout this pandemic, worked on financial assistance for Australians to suit the situation of the time. This pandemic has evolved in such a way that it's hard to believe in early 2020 we weren't really sure how it spread and what the long-term impacts would be. And then, in the fastest speed we've ever seen, the world got to work on a vaccine that we're now seeing close to 2 million Australians receiving each and every week. And we know that vaccination's the key to our recovery, to reopening internally, but also to the rest of the world. We need to learn to live with this virus. And I do note that it is Senator Siewert that's calling for the government to reinstate the coronavirus supplement, even though she is a senator from Fortress WA, the COVID-free land where West Australians can live their lives unaffected by lockdowns. And we know this because Premier McGowan keeps telling us this, that the lock the border cry has now its own merchandise. And those dreadful people from the eastern side of Australia, will you just stay away from us in WA? So why would the Morrison government look to a national payment when clearly there's no need for it in Western Australia? Because this is what we do as a government. We ensure that the financial assistance is targeted and it reaches the people who actually require it the most. Why would the land of West Australia want national resources diverted away from Australians who are experiencing lockdown when they enjoy all the freedoms the Premier consistently speaks of? But I would just like to note today he's genuinely been overtaken by Premier Palaszczuk this week, allowing in a plane load of footballers and their families whilst keeping a 3-year-old separated from his family, which I do very gratefully note that that is looking to be rectified soon. But then to claim she wants to stay closed off, well, except from footballers and celebrities, until children are all vaccinated. All children, despite globally there not being one vaccine approved for children under 12. The chutzpah is unbelievable. I'd like to say more, and I know through you, Chair, after our speech the other day, I have absolutely no doubt it would be deemed as unparliamentary language. But what we have seen this year from the Morrison government is the single biggest boost to unemployment benefits, increasing it by $50, along with permanently increasing the income-free areas to support job seekers as they look to secure employment and re-enter the workforce. Now, when the whole country was locked down, there was a coronavirus supplement, but this was always a temporary measure and was for all Australians on JobSeeker because all of Australia was locked down. Now, whilst we have New South Wales, ACT and Victoria in lockdown, these conditions aren't national. No lockdowns in Queensland, Tasmania, South Australia, the Northern Territory, and of course, the locked off, but not locked down, Western Australia. The payments that we've made available to all Australians have never been based on a set and forget model. They've been planned and timed to ensure that they can have the greatest impact when required. And that's why last year, from April through to September, there was available to all job seeker and other payment recipients an additional $550 per fortnight. But we've seen the landscape change. Not every state has been in lockdown at the same time since then. But this government does recognise that these restrictions, when imposed by state and territory governments, can mean additional financial hardship, with hours lost or work totally put on hold. And that's why, in order to support Australians that are affected in lockdown, states and territories, we've put in place the COVID disaster payment. Now, it's up to $750 a week, but for those already receiving government support, it means an additional $200 a week. So on top of the already increased job seeker payment, those Australians are receiving an additional $400 per fortnight on their payments. And this payment came into effect on the 3rd of August 2021 and will continue every single week whilst that state or territory remains in lockdown. There are also crisis payments available if someone is deemed a close contact or needs to quarantine, or a close contact and needs to quarantine, or if in fact they test positive for the virus. These are measured and targeted supports to those Australians who are impacted by lockdowns put in place by state and territory leaders. So, Senator Siewert, I know, has a very different view than I do when it looks at social security. On this side, we believe it's a safety net for all Australians, and I know Senator Siewert looks to it more as a living wage model, and that is a point of difference that I know we've shared on a number of our inquiries and debates. But the Morrison government has committed to supporting job seekers in a multiple of ways, not only in those lockdown states and the additional payments being received, but in initiatives around ensuring there are training opportunities, there are opportunities to assist people back into the workforce and to see them come out of this pandemic, as we've seen so many other people go back into the workplace and try and re-enter the workforce to ensure they're not reliant on government payments. But it is a fitting way, I think, to finish the day, Senator Siewert, talking about one of our favourite topics, again from opposite sides of the chamber. You will be missed from the Community Affairs Committee, and I wish you all the very best in the future. And I look forward to talking to you on our DSP inquiry on Monday. Thank you.